In this video, we're going to talk about how to use Photopea, which is a free version similar to Photoshop, to arrange our compositions and put our reference pictures together. So you should have at least 5 different reference pictures picked out for your final project, and we're going to be looking at how to arrange them in order to, first of all, have a clear focal point, which is to make one area large and standing out, and how to make a more dynamic or interesting overlapping composition in order to show this X-ray style of watercolor that we're going to be working with. So looking at these two images side by side, the one on the left I would say is a bit more dynamic than the one on the right, where it stands out a little bit more due to the fact that they're different sizes. So the dragonflies have one that's the largest, which would be the focal point, and then the two smaller ones. And they're also tilted and slightly rotated, which is creating a little bit of movement in the piece. So definitely try to rotate things, move things, change the size. Don't just stick with the first placement of your objects in composition, try to move them around. I will also say that some of you might be working with just one object, and if that's the case, this video may not apply to what you're doing, but I would definitely think about if there's anything else you could incorporate or add maybe more in the background. So for example, if you had a large flower, maybe adding some smaller leaves off to the side that slightly overlap with some of the flower petals. But we're going to go ahead and jump into Photopea and talk about how to combine these and how to make certain areas see-through and show overlap. So now I have Photopea opened. And like I said, this is a free version similar to Photoshop, so there's a lot of different edits that you can do beyond just the basics that we're going to be talking about. As you're watching this, I would recommend pausing the video every once in a while and just jumping back and forth between your composition and the video, because there are a lot of small steps along the way that we're going to be looking at in Photopea. So to start out, I'm going to create a new project, so I'm just clicking New Project. And from here, I'm going to adjust the size. So I'm changing this to inches. It was set to pixels before, but now we can make sure that this is just going to be a regular paper size or printer size. So 8.5 by 11 is regular printer size. And then I like to always set the DPI, which is basically the resolution, to 300, which will make the image as clear as possible. But if you're leaving it at 72, that's fine as well. I'm going to go ahead and hit create, and that's going to open up a blank page. So from here, I need to have my images downloaded that I can place into this background. So if you haven't yet, at this point, I would pause the video, go find the different pictures that you would like to work with. You did need at least 5 reference pictures. Consider even downloading more so that you can delete some that maybe aren't working together and rearrange things. So when you're ready, we're going to go to File and then Place, so open and place, and this is going to allow you to insert an image into the document. So I'm going to look for a picture, and I'm just going to work with this dragonfly here, and I have this placed, so now I'm able to change the size and where it's located. So I want to make sure that I have one main focal point, so I'm going to use this dragonfly. And instead of putting it in the middle, try to put your focal point off to the side. This is something called rule of thirds, where you have your main focus just not dead center. It makes it a little bit more interesting. So I'm going to put my focal point, or the largest part of my composition, in the bottom right corner here. But again, you can place it anywhere you would like. And then I'm going to hit this check button. Now that I have the dragonfly placed where I want it, I'm going to go ahead and add my second object. Remember that you need at least 3 areas of overlap. So that means probably at least 3 different images brought into this composition. So I'm going to go ahead and go to File and then Open and Place. Find another image, which could be the dragonfly again. I can repeat the same image. But I'm going to switch it up, and I'm going to add a picture of this leaf here to overlap with the dragonfly. So now I have the leaf. I'm going to think about the size and the placement of it before I worry about it being transparent and more of that X-ray feel. So I'm going to place it here for now. Before I hit the check, I'm going to come over into what's called the Layers panel, which is where I have my dragonfly layer and then my leaf layer. I'm going to change normal and click on multiply, and that's going to overlap and allow my leaf and my dragonfly to look a little bit more like an x-ray. So I'm going to move this around, think about the placement that I want for my leaf. I might want this leaf to be a little bit smaller. So if you decide you do want to change the rotation of it or the size again, what you can do is go up to edit and then free transform. So again, edit, free transform, and I can rotate things around, make this a little bit smaller, and then add my leaf. So maybe I want 2 of those leaves. So I'm going to go to File, Open and Place, and find the leaf again. And this time I'm going to put it maybe at a different angle or location. I'm going to change to Multiply in my Layers panel here. And I'm going to go up to Edit and then Free Transform so I can rotate and play around with how I want this second leaf to look. So I think I'm going to have my leaves overlap here, and I'm going to hit the check. And then maybe I'll add one more leaf in this upper right or upper left hand corner to kind of point in towards the dragonfly a little bit more. So open and place, finding my leaf, and then placing it. I would also consider maybe switching up the leaf. So finding online a different picture of a leaf that might work for you. And using that instead. So I'm going to rotate this, add multiply to it, and then I can kind of zoom in to see how this is going to look. So I'm happy with how this composition looks. I have at least 3 different areas of overlap, or areas that have more of that X-ray effect or feel. So from here, I'm just going to save my image, and then I'll be ready to start working with this for my final project. To save your image, you're going to go up to File and then Export As. JPEG is just a regular picture file, so I'm going to hit the JPG option, or the second option there. And then everything can just be left how it is, and I will hit save, and then that should download to your computer so you can either turn it in or start working with it for your final project. Remember to think about your background. What kind of effects or techniques are you going to incorporate? And then think about the watercolor techniques as well. Going back to maybe your brainstorming or starting to think a little bit more now that you have your composition together of how you can really incorporate a lot of techniques to make this image more dynamic, really stand out, have a lot of texture and detail.